Denver International Airport has terminated their contract with Great Hall Partners for the renovation of the main terminal. The termination comes after disagreements over safety precautions, timelines, and change orders. The project originally started with a budget of $900 million, but was expected to have taken an additional $288 million in many more years to complete. Joey, Mayor Hancock pulled the trigger on this one. Well, I think it heated up quickly. That is, I keep waiting for that Ron Burgundy meme that escalated quickly. So I guess it would be the mayor to call that shot. But did he make the right move pulling it this quickly?
I don't know. This has just been such a mess. You know, things like this. I didn't think things like this were supposed to happen in Denver. This seems like a like a Boston or a New Orleans or a Chicago type thing. But maybe this is the Denver normal now. But you know, the DIA should be a sense of pride for us. You know, it's a hub airport, but instead it's just been one mess after another. And I think that it's time to make a lot of changes out at DIA, not just this. You know, we expect our best and the brightest to be working out there, and it feels like Lucy and Ethel at the chocolate factory. So, except they're sticking piles of money everywhere. So, it's time to clean this mess up, Mayor. Where are you?
I hope there's no one out there doubting why we call him Ratings Gold Joey, because he just don't get the kind of metaphors like that. Well done, Joey. Michael, anytime you pull a contractor from a big remodel job, it usually does not shrink your budget. It's only going to increase. Is the city facing a growing boondoggle here?
Yeah, I think so, and I think that's clear with the response that the contractor had on this, saying a lot of these problems were the airport's fault. There was weak concrete. They had to get around, certain checkpoints at the terminal. I think this is a problem that even if you go back to square one, which City Council and the mayor and everybody's going to have to do, it doesn't fix some of those fundamental problems. And there's a lot of conspiracies about what's underneath DIA. I think it's just a money pit. Like that's all it's under there is a money pit, because when it first started, DIA was $2 billion over budget. It was 16 months late. You look at the contractor is a big concern, and I just don't think it fundamentally fixes this problem. This isn't tax money that we're dealing with, but it is our money in terms of concessions and fees and everything else. I think we're getting to the point where the best part of a trip to DIA is unfortunately going to be taking the A line, which is really embarrassing for us.
That is really saying something, Michael. It's a good point. Natasha, it didn't look like Denver had much of a choice when you saw how quickly it escalated, but was this the right move?
I think so. We're at a situation where the news only gets worse as time goes on. And to go back to conspiracy theories, I think DIA wishes that they were in the time period where the media requests that they were getting were related to those sort of things. Instead, it's sort of a nonstop bad news cycle coming out of Denver. And it's been that way actually for years. It's just sort of project after project, whether it's a signage outside of the airport, something like the Blue Horse and whether people like it or not, the hotel. Now we're talking about whether concrete is strong enough or not. And the list continues to go on and on. At the same time, it's overshadowing all the great things that are happening at DIA, but that's never going to make the news. It's never going to be about all the nonstop flights, how the impact that this has on our economy if we're continuing to have these sort of construction delays. So I think moving out of that cycle and getting to some space where we can start to talk about completion or what the actual budget is going to cost will be good for Denver and for the airport. But at this rate, who knows, we might have space travel before we have a finished DIA.
Patty, Mayor Pena was able to hand off the wonderful project that was DIA and the baggage, everything else, to Mayor Webb. Will Mayor Hancock be handing it off to some other mayor 4 years from now because it's still up in the air? Pardon the pun.
Let's hope not. We're going to need those Martians who live under the DIA to come down and beam us up at that point. Travel back in time with me to when DIA was first proposed, and it was $75 million over budget. It was way behind, and the city got rid of its first architect, Augie Perez, and hired Kurt Fentress. That's a name everybody in this town should remember, because he and his partner came up with the iconic tent roof. They figured out a way to make the terminal come in on budget, cut $75 million, get the bonding going for the airport. So they got that airport back on track. As thanks, we might have all noticed that Kurt Fentress was not brought in to do this expansion project when they started talking about it 10 years ago. They should be calling him right now on the phone, because he had a plan. And instead, a year ago, we were sitting here talking about why was City Council fast-tracking this plan, which basically seemed designed not just to turn DIA's main terminal into a shopping mall, but to give the shopping mall management rights and most of the money to a Spanish firm for 34 years. I mean, it was a bad plan. City Council didn't take long enough to study it. They could have gone back to the drawing board. The new City Council might very well do something like that because they seem more than willing to stand up to Mayor Hancock's administration, and we need to look at it now. Maybe we don't have to have an orange Julius around every corner at DIA.